Today is the day. My office is finally finished. After weeks and months of planning and designing and building, it is finally finished. Now, if you remember, it was a guest room, and with the help of my twin boys, we cleared it out and we had a blank slate to work with. I showed you the design that I had planned, everything that I was going to use, the color scheme, and with those thoughts in your mind, let's go ahead and head on in and see the big reveal. So welcome to my new office. What do you think? I am so excited with the way that everything came out. Now, there were three big projects in this room transformation. The first one was a desk. Now, I needed a desk, so I needed to make a desk because I just didn't have one. Now, if you remember in the inspiration video, I showed you two iron side tables. They had a beautiful scroll detail, and I told you that I was gonna make a desk out of these side tables. Well, I did it. The first thing that I did was I took the top off of the side tables, and then I spray painted them gold. Now, this gold spray paint was a little too 24 karat shiny gold, not really what I was going for, so I needed to tone it down, and I did that with some champagne metallic paint that I got at Michael's. I got a sponge brush and I brushed it all over the ironwork that was on the side table. There's such a drastic contrast in the 24 karat gold versus the champagne gold, and I was going for the champagne gold, so I love the way that it turned out. So now that my bases are finished, I needed a top to my desk. I went to Lowe's and I got some wood there. I got some higher grade stain wood that you could either stain or paint, and I actually had them cut it there. They cut the top because I knew that with their ripsaw that they could get my dimensions perfect, and if you didn't know, Lowe's cuts the wood that you purchase there for free. So that was a bonus. So now that my top was finished, I needed to do the frame that was gonna support the top. So I got some 1x4s, and this is where I'm getting out my power tools. I got a miter saw for Mother's Day. Pretty good gift, right? So I took it outside by my back pool and I set it up. I got my wood and I began to slice the wood to the right size. I used a 45-degree cut. I did this so I could get a seamless corner. I didn't want to see where the wood ended and the next piece began, so a 45-degree cut will do this for me. After I had all of my framed pieces cut, I laid them out on the floor to make sure that I had everything in the correct spot and that each one of the corners lined up evenly. And then I got a whole bunch of metal brackets. Now I'm using a ton of these brackets because I want to make sure that this table is securely put together. I plan on using it all of the time, so I want it to be really sturdy. So I got some shorter screws and I screwed those metal brackets into the wood. The reason why I'm using shorter screws is because I don't want any of the screws to poke out either the top or the sides. To add a little bit of extra detail to my desk, I got some trim. This is the same trim that I'm using on my boxed moldings. I cut all of my pieces to the correct size, and then I put some liquid nails on the back. I placed those trim pieces right underneath the lip of the top, and then I got my nail gun and I secured everything together, and then I filled in those holes with some wood filler, and then I used some caulk and I caulked all of the gaps that were on the desk. Once the tabletop was assembled, I needed to paint it, And I used Sherwin-Williams Extra White. I painted several coats over the top and the sides, and then I did a Minwax polyurethane top to give it a really good seal because, again, I will be using this for all of my crafting, so I wanted to have a very well protected top. Now it's time to assemble it back together. I got those iron bases and I put them on top of my wood, and I used the same screws that were in the side tables before, and I screwed everything together. Then I flipped it upside down and I could not believe how beautiful this table was. I was pretty proud of myself, I'm not gonna lie. And I just think that it's going to be such a nice piece. It's really sturdy. It's really the focal point to the room, and I couldn't be more happy with the way that everything turned out. My room transformation is part of the Room of the Month that is hosted by Heidi Somble. Heidi Somble has a channel that's called Heidi Somble Home, and she does some really great organizational and design videos on her channel. Now this collaboration is with 6 ladies, and they are all so talented. Each one of them are redoing a room in their house or giving it a makeover. So you are definitely going to want to check all of these ladies out. This collaboration is a hop, meaning I will leave a link to the video that you need to go to next, and they will leave a link to the video that you need to go to next until everybody has seen all of the videos and all of the links have been clicked. So make sure that you check out all of the rooms and see all of the transformations. I'll leave a link to Heidi's channel as well in the description box below. The second really big project was transforming this buffet. Now it was like a mahogany brown color, which is fine, but it just didn't fit with the color scheme of my room, so I needed to paint it. Now, if you remember in my first design video, I asked you a question. I said, do you think that I will be able to completely paint this buffet using only chalk spray paint? Well, here's the answer. The answer is no. I was not able to do it. It did not look good to me. It was really splotchy and I couldn't get an even coat. I'm sure that the chalk spray paint works really great on items that you need to maybe look a little more antiqued or rustic, or maybe smaller pieces would even work, but on this large piece, the spray paint just did not work out for me. So we're gonna go round 2. I got some Sherwin-Williams Extra White paint and a cabinet roller, and we're gonna try again. So after a couple of coats of the Sherwin-Williams Extra White paint and a bit of sanding, I was able to get the color of this buffet perfect. And then I took some of that Minwax polyurethane and sealed the top. So now the color transformation on this buffet is done. Well, almost. There was one last little bit that I wanted to do. Every pretty lady needs a pair of gold shoes, and so she was no exception. I got some blue painter's tape and I painted about 4 inches down on each one of the feet, and then I got some gold spray paint and I sprayed each one of the feet. Then I removed the tape and flipped it over, and let me tell you, this little bit of paint on the bottom really just makes this piece pop. And the fact that I changed the hardware out, I swapped those older pieces of hardware out for these newer pieces. I got some acrylic and brushed gold poles on Amazon, and the knobs are from Lowe's. Just making that quick swap really updated the entire look of this buffet. I just am in love with the way that it turned out. It's a beautiful piece in this room. It really makes it so light and bright in here, and also it adds a bit of storage that I was lacking before. The third and final big project that I am transforming is this wall. I knew that by adding some box moldings, it would just make it pop. Let's look at what it was before. It was pretty stark, pretty blank, pretty boring, and I knew that by adding some architectural detail, it would just make it a showstopper. So I went to Lowe's and I got some trim molding. I came home and I essentially put it up against the wall for a rough draft just to kind of see how I wanted it to look. Once I had the look in my mind, I took it down to the miter saw. Now, let me tell you, at this point, the miter saw and me, we are best friends. We've been through a lot together. And if there's ever a chance for you to brush up on your math skills, try some molding, because between the measuring and the angling and figuring out the degrees, you will definitely use those college math skills that have been lacking. I definitely did. So I got all of my moldings cut to the precise size, and then I took them to my room. I got some blue painter's tape and I taped them to the wall just to make sure that each cut was right, the size was right, and that I still really liked that design. Once I had that design perfectly set, I got my nail gun and I nailed each piece into the wall. Once all of my pieces were up on the wall, I filled in any of the holes with some wood filler. Then I got some caulk. I caulked around each of the sides of my trim, and then I got that extra white Sherwin-Williams paint and I painted the moldings. I think these boxed moldings is exactly what this big blank wall needed. It adds such a beautiful detail to it, and I honestly think that it makes the room feel bigger. I don't know, what do you think? Another thing about these box moldings is that it frames my mirrors and my gallery wall. Now, as you know, I got these mirrors at home, and I love the brush gold champagne color on the frame, and I love the rectangular shape with the circle on the top. I think it makes it feel a little more modern. And then also my gallery wall. I love the way that this turned out. My inspiration was Restoration Hardware, all of their gallery walls. I took a different spin on mine. What I did was I took a large canvas that I already had. The problem was it had a giant sunflower on it, and that just wasn't gonna go with the aesthetic of my room. So I got some paint that matched the wall color, and I painted over the canvas. Then I got my Dollar Tree frames that had the gold rim around it, and I filled it with some botanical prints that I found online. They are free prints. I will leave a link in my description box if you wanna go check them out. I love these botanicals. They have kind of an antique-y feel to them. So I filled my frames with these prints, and then I tied some fishing line to the back of them. You might be thinking, fishing line, what? Well, I kind of wanted it to hover, so you really didn't see the mechanics behind why it was hanging the way it was. And fishing line does the job because it can hang heavier pieces and you can't see what's holding it up. So then I got some decorative nail trim and I nailed that into the top part of the frame, and then I was able to hang all of my fishing line and my frames. And the best part about this is that I'm going to be able to change out the prints for different seasons and holidays. It's going to be an art piece that transforms over the years. Now here's another transformation. These lamps started out black. I took them outside and I spray painted them in a mirror finish. Now the mirror finish was way too shiny. I didn't know it was going to be quite as shiny as it was, so to the rescue came that champagne metallic paint that I got at Michael's. I got my sponge brush and I painted a few coats over the top of that mirrored spray paint, and I just love the patina that it gave. If you look closely, you can still see a little bit of that silver mirrored finish underneath the gold, and it just looks so pretty. It almost matches perfectly with the color that's on the mirror. So this actually happened to be a happy accident where spray painting something one color and covering it up in another color worked to my advantage. Now I looked for a long time with no success for some drapes for this room. In my mind, I wanted some sheers, but I wanted some sheers with a little bit of texture on it, not just plain white sheers. And I wanted those so I could have some light that would filter through to the room. I didn't want to block off any of the natural light to this area. So I ended up just making some on my own because I couldn't find any. I got the fabric at Joann's, and the nice thing about making your own drapes is that you can customize the length. I wanted them to be really long because I wanted to hang the drapery rod up really high. This drapery rod is also from Joann's. It started out silver, but like most of the things in this room, it got a coat of that champagne metallic paint. And now it ties in with the rest of the metallic paint in the room. These sheers are so pretty. They add such a nice ethereal and soft feel to the room. Now I have a lot of new pieces in this room, but this painting behind me is the most important. My grandmother painted it. She was a very talented artist, and it just is a very sentimental piece to me. This landscape is so pretty and it really ties in with the room. The colors are gorgeous. And I placed it across from my desk from where I'd be sitting. So when I look up, I can see that painting and be reminded of her and how important family is to me. The final touch is just to add a few accessories. I have a large white jar that has some beautiful geometric designs on it. I have a gorgeous orchid flower arrangement that is on top of a white marble tray with some gold detail. I also have a glass vase that has our gold scissors and the gold stapler that we spray painted in our last video. I also have a candle, and this candle just makes the room smell so good, and I love the warmth that the little bit of a flame adds to the room. And the final touch is, of course, that beautiful rug that was our inspiration piece for all of the colors that I got at Tuesday morning. It just anchors the whole room and brings everything together. All right, guys, we are all finished, and I am excited with the way that everything came together. All of the sewing and the painting and the nailing and the designing was definitely worth it to get this space. I'm excited to use this desk for all of my crafting. I am looking forward to changing the design and decorating it and switch out the prints for the changing holidays and seasons. I just am really looking forward to just sitting in here and getting some work done in a beautiful space. I think that's gonna be my favorite part. Well, I hope you like this transformation as much as I do. I would love to know what you think. I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much for watching.